Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor, online with Tom Santanello for our Fire and Ice show. What's going on, Tommy Guns?
Good morning, Joe.
Tom, under the radar players at each position today. I've got two, you've got two at each position, going from quarterback to tight end. These guys are not getting the respect that they deserve. Tom, are you ready to give them the respect they deserve today?
Ready to give them the respect they deserve.
All right, Tom, before we get into that, the under the radar fantasy football players, aka deep sleepers, before we get into that, guys, make sure you guys get the 16-round draft solution. There is a link here below. This is the game changer, first ever and only video training. I give you all the optimal players to draft in each position, sleepers, breakouts, everything you need. Scrap the draft kits, get 16 rounds. Guys, I'm telling you, I'm handing you a win on a silver platter, pretty much. There's no guarantees in fantasy. This is the closest, best next thing. And also go to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com, go under programs, and you get Fantasy Direct. Tom, I'm texting people direct content. You know, everything from optimal DFS players to waiver wires to inside information. Join right now, guys. Fantasy Direct at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. Also link it below as well. All right, Tom, let's go, man. Who is not getting the respect they deserve first? And you're going to do two. I'll do two at the quarterback, and we'll move on. Which is the quarterback that's just not getting the love that they deserve?
Well, my first was a wide receiver, Joe.
Oh, you want to start there?
Yeah, because
all right. We'll start at wide receiver. We'll work our way back, and we'll leave running backs to the end. So let's go wide receiver, then quarterbacks. So what do you got?
Like, Preston Williams from the Dolphins.
Ooh, that's deep.
You know, I don't think he's that deep. He was their number one for the first 8 games last year. I mean, it may be deep. He's coming off an ACL injury. He's a big target. I think he's going to be good over there. I think he's going to be a solid starting wide receiver in this league. He proved he can be a starting wide receiver, and those guys don't grow on trees where I come from. So as long as he's back with his explosiveness, and he doesn't even need it all because he's not an explosive player. He's a good receiver. He's not a guy that relies on his, deep speed. But I like him.
But he tore his knee. Didn't he not tear his ACL?
Yeah, he's on track to be ready for week 1. So maybe he's the guy you pick, and he works off the rust, or you monitored him in camp, and he's good to go. Week 4, you got yourself a solid receiver. I don't know. He's ready to play. He'll be ready to play though, from what I've heard. He tore it in November. Unfortunately, I have some experience dealing with people with torn ACLs. They usually is an 8 to 10 month rehab. So, he's on track.
Preston Williams is currently sitting 49th on the consensus, on the consensus rankings. He's in around 49 to 50. Like, he's well down there right now. In PPR, a little bit lower. He's 50, so he's not 49. So yeah, Preston Williams, a guy that is on a suspect offense for me. I don't really feel comfortable. To me, when I look at any wide receiver, I look at who's throwing the ball, and we don't really know who's going to be throwing the ball, if he's going to come back healthy. So yeah, I mean, I definitely see a ceiling, but I don't feel safe about it. But I mean, if you're in round 14 of your draft, why not? Right?
Yeah. Well, like you said, he's a sleeper, undervalued. Is that the word you used?
Completely. Yeah. Under the radar.
He's more, listen, he was an undrafted kid, so I'm not going to go out on a limb and say he's more, higher potential than a lot of other guys, but he's more talented than a lot of guys that are getting picked ahead of him.
Okay, that's a good one. All right, I'll give you a wide receiver here that everybody's sleeping on. Now, again, this guy's going to be very volatile, but potentially. But the guy I'm talking about is Robbie Anderson. He's actually ranked below Preston Williams. He's sitting 52nd on the consensus rankings amongst wide receivers. Now, who sat there and actually gave the crown to DJ Moore being the starting wide receiver? Like, I mean, who says that Bridgewater, being the new quarterback coming in, is just going to gravitate to DJ Moore? And DJ Moore is so high on everybody's rankings, and I don't see why. I mean, he's sitting 11th. Well, I can get Robbie Anderson in the 13th, 14th round. I mean, why wouldn't you just go Robbie Anderson, who technically could be the wide receiver 1? What do you think, Tom?
Well, I don't think Robbie Anderson is a wide receiver 1. I don't even think he's a wide receiver really 2. Maybe he'll have a 1 or 2 years where he can be like that. But I think Robbie Anderson is a guy that is more of a vertical threat, like a Will Fuller. He's that's who he is. And I don't think you can make somebody into someone they're not, or try to wish that they're that person, because DJ Moore is a lot better. He's a better route tree. He's just he's a better player. And I think they're gonna take chances down the field, but I think they're gonna use Robbie Anderson more for those vertical routes and stuff like that. Robbie Anderson has never had a year over 1,000 yards. He's never produced. He's had some off the field issues here and there. He's overall, when I know a few people that know him, he's a good person. But I think if you understand one thing, Robbie Anderson, two things I want you to understand. Robbie Anderson's going to Carolina, which is where his college coach is the head coach now. Okay, which is good because he's got familiarity with him. Matt Rule was the head coach at Temple when Robbie Anderson was there.
Right.
However, it took Robbie Anderson a while to sign in free agency. Robbie Anderson values himself more than he actually is. Hence Melvin Gordon. Robbie Anderson thought, I know personally, firsthand, he thought he was going to get 15 to 17 million a year. He ended up getting about 10 a year. That's why it took him so long to sign, because he thought he was better than he was, and he thought he was going to get more money. But no NFL teams. I mean, there were a couple offers I heard. Even I think the Jets bringing him back possibly. I don't even know if that was verified, but he wasn't as wanted as you think. I just don't think, and that goes back down to what I said originally. He's just not that good.
Right.
He's not okay. He's going to have some games where he gets some touchdowns in some games, but he's not an every game fantasy starter.
Not true. But again, in his respect, in his I gotta say, he was on the Jets. I don't know what to tell you. Right. I mean, this could be a huge upgrade at quarterback, upgrade of the team. Right. So the ceiling is exciting, but I just definitely see him being volatile, having some boomy type bust games. Unless the thing is, the uncertainty of it is exciting because maybe Bridgewater gravitates to him and makes him the wide receiver one. He could be as he advertised himself, is what I'm saying. I mean, who knows, right?
You think so?
You never know. Yeah, that's the thing.
But have you watched him play?
Yeah, I've watched him play, and I'm not wowed, but I mean, he was on the Jets. Look at Le'Veon Bell. Look what happened to him when he ended up on the Jets. He wasn't wowing anybody either. So I don't know. Maybe it's the Jets first.
But I mean, I just think last year was supposed to be his year to take that step up. Now, do I think the guy can have 1,000-yard season? Yeah, he could. But do I think he's more likely to have one of those in his career? Maybe two. Probably no more than that. He's just not that player. He's okay. I mean, I don't know how much you really like the kid, but he does have speed. He's just okay. I mean, you like him.
All I'm saying, he's under the radar as a wide receiver 5 on my team. In round 14 of my draft. I mean, he's just under the radar, and I'm just saying he could be the wide receiver 1 because he was the wide receiver 1 in Jetstown. Why wouldn't he be the wide receiver 1 here? What has Moore done? Moore had an okay year, but it's a different quarterback, new situation, new coach, right?
What I will tell you is that Carolina last year had one of the worst 2 or 3 defenses in the NFL. And right now they have a very young defense. They didn't even take an offensive player in the draft. They probably have the worst defense in the NFL this year. They lost their best defensive player they lost their best cornerback in Bradbury. Luke Kuechly retired. They're only getting worse on defense. Now, they drafted some really good players, but we don't know how rookies turn out, number one. Number two, it takes time for rookies to develop. So I really think that you have to look at the situation that you have. And if they're going to have a really bad defense, this helps you. I'm helping you.
Right.
You're going to throw the ball more because they're going to be trailing a lot. So that's another thing to look at. Right. I mean, I don't like Carolina. I just don't like them as a team. I don't think they're ready to compete at all this year. They're rebuilding. So when you're rebuilding, though, like you said, you're going to lose and you're going to be behind. So they brought in Bridgewater Bridgewater they brought in because here's the thing. There was an article the other day, and I know it to be true. I don't know if it's true. Bridgewater never really was this big deep ball passer, and there was somebody called him out on it, and he said, well, he just wasn't asked to do it. So I think that's the other thing. We don't know what you're going to get from the quarterback position either. Bridgewater's never been that pocket passing gunner that's just going to sit there and slice it up, and pick up defenses. So I think that's the other thing you have to look at. We don't know what kind of Teddy Bridgewater we're getting. He's been a game manager a little bit better than that in New Orleans. And New Orleans offense is different. It's based on the yards after the catch, blah, 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 all that stuff. So they're taking a different approach to this offense, which is going to be some bigger plays, which will help you if they can connect.
Okay.
I mean,
let's move on here. Let's because we talk about Carolina way too much for my liking, and I mean, good analysis for sure. But all I'm saying is just get Robbie Anderson deep. Give me another wide receiver you like late, please.
Late as in how late?
Like round 14, a sleeper, like someone that
Renfro. I've mentioned him before. I know a lot of people don't like him.
I'm not sold on him, man. I'm not excited about him. He doesn't get me like giddy. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's Derek Carr not wowing people, but yeah, I mean,
he's going to be the fallback option.
Yeah, let's put it this way: he's not going to be on my team. Like I just don't. I don't.
I just think he's going to be his go-to guy. He's got rookies and Ruggs, so I think he'll have struggle picking up that offense. Ruggs is going to be a big play guy, and he's a rookie. He's got that other rookie from, was it Memphis or something, or Kentucky? But he's going to be in the running back room. They got, I think, a rookie out of South Carolina, but that's another rookie. I mean, who do they have as Carr's blanket? Tyrell Williams underperforms for me every year. Yeah. He had a lot of hope coming out of San Diego, formerly known as San Diego, the Chargers, a couple years ago. I just think he's going to end up surprising people and take a step up. And in round 14, yeah, I'm going to take him.
Yeah, I mean, if you like him, I like other guys there. So moving on to my guy here, Alan Lazard, who's technically the wide receiver 2 on the Packers. I mean, Devin Funchess is there, but what has he ever done? You got Marquise Valdez-Scantling. What has he ever done? I mean, Rodgers, I was talking to my Packers guy, a good friend of mine that's a big Packers ambassador on YouTube, Alex Basarowski, and he was saying, yeah, I mean, Rodgers talks about Lazard a lot, and he had a couple boomy type games last year. I think he finds his role this year and solidifies that position. And it's Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, coming off a bit of an off year. I think Lazard is a guy. So if you're looking at Lazard and Renfro, I mean, the ceiling I think is higher for a guy like Lazard.
Well, I mean, I think it's higher than Renfro, but I mean, I'm not comparing those two guys. But listen, the problem with Lazard, he's never produced at a high level. Right. You know, I mean, you can say Renfro was a rookie last year. He's had a really good college career. He's got all the tools to be like, you know, I don't want to compare him to the white receiver Edelman, but he's like this good slot guy. But forget about him for a second. Let's talk about your guy. Lazard, I mean, I just think you have a problem in Green Bay. I agree with you. I think he'll be a good pick that late because he's going to get some opportunity out there. Right. And I can't count on Devontae Adams. You know, he's never fully healthy. He doesn't, you know, he's got more hype than he does, you know, substance a lot of times. So he's a great player. But I think Green Bay is transitioning more into a running offense. LaFleur, he's going to bring that offense that he had when he was in Tennessee. So, I mean, they drafted A.J. Dillon. They drafted Jordan Love. And then, Jordan Love, he's not going to start this year unless something happens. He probably might not start next year, but it depends on how Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to want to perform this year. They're going to let him loose. But you got to remember, last year was the first year in a while that they actually had one of their most amount of rushing attempts, I believe, in Green Bay in years. When McCarthy was there, they used to throw the ball a ton. So the volume of attempts is going to start going down for Rodgers, and he's going to try to make this more of a, not a running, but more of a balanced offense. But I do think that they don't have any weapons there in Green Bay, and I think that Lazard is going to get the opportunities. I haven't seen him play a full season yet, really, but I like him that late.
All right, so Lazard, I mean, the high ceiling, I definitely see him stepping up. And again, these guys are deep sleepers, under the radar guys that you can get super late. And that's what it's all about. Just those guys that just are under the radar with no respect. All right, let's move on to the quarterback position. I'll go first here with the quarterback that I think is just getting zero respect. There's a ton of guys actually this year that are getting zero respect in the fantasy industry, which is pretty much a shame. Because these guys are top producers, and it's crazy that they're not getting any love. Now, this guy is ranked 15th amongst quarterbacks. This guy was leading. The guy I'm talking about is Big Ben Roethlisberger, okay? I mean, the guy produces. I mean, leading in attempts, passing attempts, leading in passing yards in 2018, was sidelined due to an injury last year. He's still got a ton of weapons. Yeah, you don't have Antonio Brown, but you still got Deontay Johnson. You've got James Washington, which I'm not really high on. You've got Juju, right? They've acquired Chase Claypool now, right? They've got options. Ebron, I believe, at tight end. So the guy is going to produce, right? I mean, he has to, and he's completely under the radar, like he's 15th on the consensus ranking. You can get this guy after round 8 or 9 or 10 in your draft. It's crazy. He's falling, and it's all predicated on him last year not finishing in the top 10. So what do you think of Big Ben? Does he step up? And after this surgery, he had the surgery to his arm or wherever, is he going to be fine, throwing fine this year? What do you think?
I mean, I would assume so. I haven't, you know, we won't know until he plays. He's also a year older, but I think he's coming back in shape, and I think he's going to come back with a vengeance, and he's going to play well. I don't know, but the weapons around him, you're right, they're not the same. I don't think they have a great running game. I think they have a solid offensive line. I think they have an okay running back. I think they have, excuse me. I
Yeah.
think they have a couple good receivers. I think he's going to go back to Juju, but I think he's going to spread the ball around, and I like him this year in that range where he's getting drafted for sure. I think he's a guy that he's finally has a good defense. He's in a tough division, so he's going to play some tough battles against some really good defenses. But I'm on your side on this one. I think the guy comes back, and he's not going to be the Ben Roethlisberger of 3 years ago or so, but he's going to be good.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Under the radar. All right, let's hear a under the radar quarterback that you have that nobody's really talking about and respecting.
Well, I told you I like this kid. I like MINSHEW, Gardner Minshew. I think he's going to put up respectable numbers. Last year per game, he was the same as Kyler Murray, pretty much. And he missed a couple games. I think when Foles came back, they gave him a couple opportunities. I like Gardner Minshew as far as a later guy for a backup quarterback. I just think the kid's got the it factor. I think he's got a couple young weapons at receiver. He's got a top running back, Fournette, whether you like him or not, he is. Fournette's going to stay healthy in a contract year. Jacksonville's going to be a little bit better than people think. Defense isn't that great, so they will be behind a little bit, but he's always in there. He's just going to be a solid contributor. He's never going to put up, top few quarterback numbers. He's got some mobility. I just think he's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it, and everyone's so high on Kyler Murray this year, and Minshew is super efficient. He was more efficient than 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 91.19 passer rating. Listen, what I like about him is the efficiency, and I like the fact that he's young, he's hungry, and the thing about it is the only difference is really between him and Kyler was that Kyler had 4 rushing touchdowns, Minshew didn't, and a few more rushing yards. Other than that, man, there's a 30, 40-point gap in between points. But Minshew's a guy that could step it up this year. Some more touchdowns, getting in the groove. You get him late, and he'll be ultra efficient. Yeah, I think he's a little under the radar as a backup quarterback with a high ceiling, or not even a high ceiling, but a safe floor, I should say. He'll be safe.
I think 2 factors to look at. I've said this before. I think it was on your show. Jay Gruden, offensive coordinator, is going to get the most out of this kid. Jay Gruden is going to be a good offensive coordinator. He is a good offensive coordinator. He's going to be good with this kid. So I think you have to look at that. The other thing, I think you have to look at Minshew. I think he's a leader. The teammates like him. The players, the coach, people want to play with him. So he has that for him too. So I really like the kid.
Okay. I got a quarterback I keep talking about, and I'm in this fishbowl with a bunch of other analysts. It's a big fantasy football league type thing. You've probably heard of it. And a lot of people are watching the particular league that I'm in. And I'm doing the draft there, and it's a super flex. So the league is a super flex. So you start one quarterback, and then you can start potentially another quarterback, a super flex. You can start another quarterback. But the thing is, the quarterbacks get penalized a lot. If you throw a touchdown or throw an interception, it's like -4 points. So it's kind of a risk reward. Yeah, it's cool to start a quarterback, but they can get hurt. If they're an inefficient quarterback, they can get penalized. So I ended up getting, as my starter, Ryan Tannehill. I believe I got him in the 5th round. And that's the guy who's completely under the radar. And the thing about him is he's got an established offense. He's got a good O-line, good pass protection. He's going to run an efficient system. And if you look at him on a point-per-point game basis, he was consistent. Let's say averaging around 20 points a game. And he didn't play and I keep talking about this, but he didn't play the first 6 games with the Titans. Had he done that, you take 5 or 6 games, you multiply that by 20, which is what he was averaging per game. And now he's at around 330 fantasy points, because last year he finished with around 224-ish fantasy points. So, man, if he continues at that 20-point per game average, you're looking at a top 5 fantasy football quarterback. So I think he's completely under the radar, currently sitting 17th on the consensus Sheeps's rankings. Why not here? 224 points last year, 6 games short of a full season. I'm looking at over 300 points here for Tannehill if he stays healthy and he goes efficient. I know you don't like Tannehill, but does this make sense?
No.
Why don't you like Tannehill? Why are you so against?
He's not good. He's never been good. Listen, could he get you in the playoffs and be that? Okay, fine. Is he going to win you a Super Bowl? No. Derrick Henry.
I'm talking fantasy.
He'll
be good for fantasy.
Derrick Henry had an 8-game stretch or whatever it was at the end of last season that was remarkable. Derrick Henry's not going to do that again. He was feeding off the run game, the play action. He was just feeding off Derrick Henry's career performance in that half a season window. I mean, Derrick Henry was phenomenal. So they were putting so many guys in the box, and I just don't think Ryan Tannehill, number one, when they're behind as well, he can't play from behind. He's not a passing quarterback. I do think he can be the guy to manage a team, whether it's this team, the Bears, those type of teams that can just bruise it. But I don't think it's going to result in a lot of statistics, which equals fantasy points. So I just don't. I like this receiver and AJ Brown. I like him a lot. I think he's going to get better, but I don't think Tannehill is good. And I think Derrick Henry is not going to do what he did at the end of last year, which is really when Tannehill stepped it up. I know Tannehill had some decent games and everything like that, but I just don't see him when you watch him play. He'll make a couple good throws here and there, but it's usually with the lead. And once they're behind, which I don't think the Titans as a team are going to be as good this year either.
Well, why would they? I think they only get better. I mean, AJ Brown getting into the groove now with Tannehill. I think they made an improvement on their O-line. They've got Derrick Henry stepping it up. I think they're going to be a good team.
No, they were 9-7 last year. They're not a great team. Okay, they went to the AFC title game. I don't care. You were 9-7. You're a game out of the play, but not being in the playoffs. Number one. Number two, you got Houston coming back just as strong. You got who's the division winners. You got Indianapolis, who's coming back stronger with Phillip Rivers. Now that's a different story. I'm not saying I like Phillip Rivers, whatever, but they're coming back stronger as well. You got Jacksonville, which obviously they're better than I believe, even though Jacksonville will be tougher than people think. So I just think the Titans, I mean, they were in a lot of close games last year. I think they have great coaching. They have a really good defense. They got rid of, Jarrell Casey, who wasn't playing as well on the D-line. But I just think overall, 9-7, they go back to 7-9, 8-8. But remember, even with Mariota there, they made the playoffs the year before. So it's not a team that scares me.
They scrape by. You're talking reality. But for fantasy, I think Tannehill is going to be rock solid and safe. Well, based on what we saw last year.
I mean, we're going to have to go over that week in, week out, because I'm going to tell you I told you so. I don't like the guy. Listen, I don't like him. I don't like the way he plays. I don't think he's going to put up numbers. He's not going to put up numbers. And like I said, I don't think their offensive line got worse. They lost their starting right tackle. I know they drafted a guy. Who knows if he's going to
drafted a guy? Yes,
but whatever. But they lost Conklin. I think they lost another guy. They're just not. They're not like. They're not. He's not great. He's not a great quarterback.
He'll be productive. I don't
know about that. I don't think Derrick Henry is going to do what he did last year. Those last 8 games when he was his most productive, or whatever, how many games it was. I don't think so.
Defense is what clue in that. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I was more high on Henry than I am this year because I saw the ceiling, but I think Henry's still hungry. Now they did get Isaiah Wilson at tackle in the first round. So
yeah, Georgia kid, he's a mauler. He's all right, but he's a little raw though. I don't know if he's ready, but I think they're going to put that. They re-signed one of their backups. I think that's going to play there first. I'm not sure. I don't remember off the top of my head, but still, that's a big loss for them. Conklin's a stud. He went to Cleveland, who actually, finally made some smart signings. We'll see how that goes, but it's a different story for a different day.
All right, you give me your last quarterback here. Someone who's under the radar.
Can I go Jared Goff?
Sure. I mean, yeah, he's currently sitting. Where is he sitting? He's sitting 19th amongst quarterbacks right now. He always finishes in around top 15 usually. It's kind of like a safe place for him. And, I mean, how do you see him having a good year? I mean, who do you see there stepping up? Do you see Woods taking a step up this year? How do they do it?
Well, I think Woods took a step up last year. I think they have a horrible defense. Another one of these things, they lost a lot of key defensive players. I think another one of these teams that is going to have to throw the ball more. So by default, he's going to have stats. McVay likes to throw the ball anyways. Sean McVay, he's coming in off for a disappointing season, but they still like mediocre. They're still like an 8-8 team. They were 9-7 last year, but they're still in that range. They're in the toughest division in football. They're going to throw the ball. And I think the trend you see a lot of teams going to is get away from the stars. I mean, they got rid of Gurley, they got rid of Cooks, kind of going after quality pieces. He's going to throw the ball to Tyler Higbee. He's going to throw the ball to Woods. He's going to throw the ball to Cooper Kupp. He's got he's got the running back there, Akers, and I just think he's going to be efficient. I don't think it's going to be anything spectacular as far as the people around him. I don't think he's going to be super spectacular, but I think he's going to put numbers up. Just like how you said Tannehill is going to be productive.
Right.
This guy's going to be productive. I think you kind of mispronounced Tannehill for Goff. No, but I think he's going to have a much better year than Tannehill. If I had to put my money where my mouth is, this is where I'm going. Jared Goff, and I'm not a Jared Goff fan. I just think in this offense, he's going to be productive. And I'm not saying he's a great quarterback or going to be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, I see what you're saying. Better coaching too, I think. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on here to running backs. And let's move on. Who is a running back that's off everybody's radar? You guys know. Now, listen, I'm not going to say David Johnson this time. I'm gonna switch things up because obviously we know David Johnson's off everybody's radar. I'm not going to dive into that. So you give me one that off everyone's radar here.
Me? It's your turn. I just gave you Goff. You didn't even hear the quarterback.
Okay, so here's the deal. Let me explain the running backs, okay? Now, if you're looking at running backs, always go robust RB. You need to load up on those running backs with minimal committees. So, there isn't really a running back here that I could say is off people's radar. You could say Leonard Fournette. He's coming off in around the 3rd round. He's 17th on the rankings here amongst running backs, which is kind of sad because if you look at him, this guy, he finished top 10 last year. Like, I don't know what to tell you. There's no respect here for Uncle Lenny. Give the guy some respect that he deserves. And if you look at him, this is his numbers last year, okay? 15 games, 265 attempts, 1,152 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. And that's rushing touchdowns. And he still finished top 7 with 259 points. And this is with 3 rushing touchdowns. Can you imagine if he had where he should be around 8 to 10 touchdowns if he's the workhorse running back? I think he's still got a high ceiling contract year. He needs to get paid, and he's sitting 17th, and it's embarrassing. They've got guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire ahead of him, who I don't think he's going to get the volume. They've got Kenyon Drake ahead of him. They've got Nick Chubb ahead of him, who's sharing the backfield with Kareem Hunt. They got Joe Mixon and Dalvin Cook ahead of him. Dalvin Cook hasn't even finished the season. This is disrespect to Uncle Lenny. What do you think?
I agree. The problem with him is he needs to he's going to stay healthy. He's in a contract year. He's another disgruntled Jacksonville player. They finally got a new offensive coordinator, which I told you before. I like him. I think the problem is when he gets over 20 carries a game, he's a real running back. He can break some runs, but he's not that big breakaway guy, whatever. He needs to get the ball. You need to give him the ball 20 times a game. I've seen him play live a couple times, actually. He's just a beast. I've seen him in person. He's just a beast. Last year he played almost the whole season. I know he battled some injuries here and there before that, but I like the kid's a good running back. There's no question about it. And he's in a contract year with a lot to prove. So get him in the 3rd round, or is that what you said?
Yeah, he's coming off in the 3rd round, 12th.
I love that. I like him. I think the kid's he's a really good running back. He can catch the ball too. Underrated at that.
Yeah. All right, your turn. What do you got?
I got a guy that I know you don't like, but I would take him late. His name is Sony Michel because he's going to get the ball this year. When the Patriots offense was suffering last year towards the end of the season, he was starting to get his carries. He was never really healthy last year, so he never really took that step up. So talent-wise, he's talented, a Georgia running back. Usually they are. I know you don't like the other one, Nick Chubb. But listen, I'm telling you, this kid's going to go over 1,000 yards this year. He's going to probably go 1,100 yards, and they're going to run the ball more because they're unsure of what they're doing on offense. And he's going to be the feature back running the ball. And I think that's what you're not going to get a ton of points out of him, but we're talking undervalued late round sleepers. And I think, so don't tell me, oh, he's not this, he's not that, because I get it. But as a sleeper, I like him.
I think Brookface is going to be a pest. I hate him, and I hate James White there. If Sony Michel is a 3-down workhorse, I love him. And I loved him coming out of college. And as soon as I found out he was on the Patriots, I was so pissed off. You have no idea how pissed off I was.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But yeah, people are sleeping on him. He's sitting 30th on the consensus rankings right now.
He's better than that, Joe.
I don't like the offense. I don't. I can't bring myself to drafting him. I just can't.
But late, where's he going off the board?
He's coming off. I don't even know. I'm not even targeting him. I don't even care. So he's coming off. I would say round 8. Earlier. I'd say rounds 6 to 7.
But if it's round 8, you're not taking him.
No, I don't care for him because I got my running backs early. I don't need a running back round 7 or 8. I'm loaded up at that point. you know?
I mean,
And I know we said deep sleepers, but I'm just, I'm talking more guys that are just being disrespected. And yeah, I guess he's being disrespected, but he's on the Patriots. I don't trust any Patriot for fantasy. I can't do it.
they're changing their offense a little bit. Don't forget.
Yeah.
And we have a QB competition there now too, so that's something to keep an eye on.
All right, so I'll give you a deep sleeper that nobody's giving any respect to, and I think he deserves a lot of respect. But again, I don't really. He's not even a deep sleeper. He's just not getting the respect that he deserves. The guy I'm talking about is David Montgomery, 23rd. Okay, he's just not getting the respect. 23rd on the consensus rankings. He finished 24th last year in PPR, and he's only going to have a better year. He is primed for a big season. 242 attempts last year. Nagy on the hot seat. David Montgomery. You got to run this guy. Fourth, fifth round. I mean, what amazing value for fantasy at running back. A true workhorse running back with no committee. Tariq's not coming in to get any type of rushing stuff this year. I mean, he had a couple rushing yards last year and rushing attempts, but it's going to be all Montgomery, especially near the goal line. I love him, and he's not getting the respect yet. He's got to earn it this year.
Yeah, I mean, he had 200-yard games last year. He played, I think a better stretch towards the end of the season. The Bears struggled. Their offense struggled. The play calling struggled. I think he's going to be the man there, and I think he's going to improve. I agree with you on that. I don't know. I mean, see, I don't call him a sleeper because I like the kid, but I could see a lot of people are down on him because he plays for the Bears and because of last year. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, we could go deeper. But I mean, with running backs, I don't want to dive too deep because you shouldn't be diving too deep unless you get a couple breakouts later, like Alexander Madison or AJ Dillon or someone like that. That you can get as a late sleeper, but we're more focused on guys that are being under the radar guys. When I'm going to say under the radar, but just guys that aren't getting the respect they deserve, more or less.
Yeah.
For running back. Again, running back, load up early. Don't worry about as much late. There'll be some guys that break out. All right, so let's move on here. Do you have anyone else here?
I mean, I like DeAndre Swift, who's a rookie, because I just don't think Kerryon Johnson is going to compete with him at all. I think this is Swift's job. I think he's rookie of the year contender.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, as long as he gets the volume, I like him. I like the talent there for sure. All right, let's move on here. What do we have left? Tight end?
Oh, we're doing tight ends?
Yeah, let's do tight ends and wrap this up. Let's move through it quickly because I don't really care as much tight end, but there's a lot of guys that this is an important position because you can literally wait and get some star top 5 tight ends, right? So I'm going to go with this guy here. I think he's completely under the radar. No one's really talking about him. And you can get him super, super, super late. The guy is TJ Hawkinson. I mean, yeah, he's a little banged up, but with Stafford healthy, I mean, he's being targeted a lot near the goal line, red zone there last year for some passing touchdowns. But Hawkinson sitting 31st. You get him for free. He was drafted early by the Lions. I mean, why not here? Do you see him taking a step up?
I agree. I think the whole Lions team takes a step up.
Yeah.
I agree with that pick. I think the kid's a talent. He's a top 10 pick. He's going to get opportunities. He's going to get touchdowns, and he's going to be good. I mean, they have a really good wide receiver on the outside. Then they have, was it Marvin Jones, who's getting old. He's kind of reliable, but I don't think they really have a solid number 2 option there as far as I don't know if he can turn into a Kittle or a Kelsey. I mean, he was drafted top 10, which is kind of rare for a tight end, but I do think the kid's got talent. I really do like him.
Sorry, I'm mistaken. I don't know if I said he's sitting 31st. He's actually sitting 16th amongst tight ends. I'm not sure if I said 30th. He finished 31st last year amongst tight ends. Because again, he was banged up. It was just a disaster last year with Stafford getting banged up. So he's sitting 16th on the consensus rankings in standard leagues, and 15th in PPR. So again, still you can get this guy like super late. Okay, what tight end do you have for us?
I mean, I got 2 that I'm going to speak on really quickly. I'm not going to go spend a lot of time. I actually like I see a comeback for the kid out of Green Bay, Sternberger. I think he's going to end up being a reliable target there. And then I like another guy who's behind Kyle Rudolph. I like Irv Smith. I think the kid is good, and I think Irv Smith eventually takes this job over, and his talent might even outproduce Rudolph as time goes on here. I really like him, but the problem is obviously Rudolph sitting in the way. But I mean, they would talk about Rudolph getting traded and everything like that. I like the talent of that guy, and I like Sternberger to kind of show up.
That is really, really, really deep and interesting. I like that perspective. I'll give you one here, sitting 18th here, and he's on the Indianapolis Colts. Jack Doyle. I don't think he's getting a lot of love. He's got Phillip Rivers there. I mean, why not as a backup tight end for you? Doyle's there with Rivers, and the fact of the matter is, he threw to Henry a lot, right? Hunter Henry.
He's
So
okay.
he's okay, right? I mean,
Doyle's Doyle. He's been around for years. He's not going to like the guy. Irv Smith's a lot more talented than Doyle. You put him on Indianapolis, he's going to blow it out the water. Just Irv Smith's good. He's been like that since Alabama. Doyle's never been good. He's been okay. Like you say, he's average, a backup, but he's going to get. Who else do they have right now?
That's it.
Yeah, so he's going to get the ball. He's going to get some shots, and the ceiling on him is not high. But you know what you're going to get with him. And as a backup, yeah, okay. I can see where you're coming from.
Well, it's more opportunity here. This isn't really on talent. This is more on opportunity. And I like Rivers, and I like the situation. I like the O-line, and he might lean on him. You never know.
Maybe.
So that's it, guys. There's some under the radar, deeper sleepers here for you. 2 at each position from both me and Tom, fire and ice. Make sure you guys, I keep forgetting to plug your podcast at the beginning of the show. Tom Santinello podcast, guys, go check it out right now. It's on iTunes, and a lot of inside information, sports information, football, everything sports. Tom's got you covered, right, Tommy Guns?
Yeah, I got a couple YouTube up now too. I was a little under the weather this week, so nothing up yet. Nothing new, but yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I'll link the YouTube below, and then you guys can follow him. Just go into iTunes and just look up Tom Santinello. All right, guys, get the 16-round draft solution at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. Thanks for being here. And those are some under radar players getting some respect from us. Thanks for being here, guys. We are out.